All right, Carl, thank you. Let's get the other side of the story to the dust-up down on the convention floor this afternoon. Sean Spicer is the communications director for the RNC. Sean, I don't know if you could hear all of what Senator Lee said, but he said this is about preserving transparency, preserving the right to argue about the rules, and he said the RNC squelched that effort today.
Well, look, the Rules Committee met last week to consider the rules for this convention. There were several motions made by people with Senator Lee. Every one of them lost, and they couldn't garner any support for a minority report at that time. Then they had a voice vote today. They lost the voice vote. Then they asked for a roll call vote.
There's some people that deny that.
The convention needs 7. Hold on. You have to get 7 states. They presented 9 when people who were on some of those states realized that what they had actually signed versus what they were told they signed, they took their names off of that. They ended up with 6 states instead of the 7 required. In fact, Iowa took itself out as well at the end, so getting them down to 5. So they failed at that again. So they've lost 3 times. We are now, the overwhelming majority of delegates here support this ticket, are excited, ready to move forward and take on Hillary Clinton. And as you mentioned, the lineups that we have are phenomenal. There's a ton of folks that are going to speak tonight up until Melania Trump speaks, which is going to be a phenomenal event with Mr. Trump personally introducing her.
How much do you think Ted Cruz is behind this effort, and what about this effort to put his name into nomination tomorrow?
I don't know. I don't know what role Senator Cruz has. It was more, I think, Senator Lee and Ken Cuccinelli from Virginia. But again, look, if you look at the rules package that actually passed, the one that the delegates voted today, it's probably the most grassroots conservative rules package that has passed in a couple generations. It rolled back Rule 40, which a lot of the delegates had expressed concern that had been passed in Tampa, that said that you now needed a majority of 8 states, brought that back down to the pre-2012 rule of a plurality in 5. There were a lot of things that the grassroots won in these rules that were passed, and I think Chairman Priebus made sure that his voice was among those that supported more of the grassroots support in the rules going forward for the party and the convention.
Are you worried, Sean, that tonight, no matter how good the speakers are, no matter how much Melania Trump nails her speech, that the headlines from this day will be Rocky's start to the RNC convention?
No, because I think, again, if you actually look at what the facts were, Brett, you had 44 states and all the territories overwhelmingly supporting Mr. Trump, overwhelmingly supporting these rules, and I think that's the real story here. If you want to talk about a vocal minority, then, again, we've been saying this for a couple months. There's a group of folks that like to send out tweets and have conference calls, but the majority of delegates recognize that more Republican voters than ever before came out, and the number one vote getter was Donald Trump.
Will there be an effort to prevent Ted Cruz's name from being in nomination? I mean, that's what we're hearing, is that there's an effort to do that and that he's going to come out and speak and try to have some kind of Reagan 1976 moment in his mind.
Well, I think, look, Ted Cruz has been an advocate of conservative principles. He knows what's at stake right now in this election. He knows that Hillary Clinton could have 2 to 4 Supreme Court picks that would alter the trajectory of this country for a generation. And he recognizes all of the decisions and the huge contrast that there is between Donald Trump and Mike Pence and Hillary Clinton and whichever left-wing pick she chooses for vice president. But look, everyone, when Donald Trump chose Mike Pence as his running mate, conservatives, social conservatives, fiscal conservatives, people who have worked with Mike Pence in the past, all united and said, what a phenomenal pick, what a phenomenal representative of the grassroots and of fiscal and social conservatism. So I think that Ted Cruz understands what's at stake, and he's going to do what he can to make sure he echoes those sentiments.
Sean Spicer with the RNC. Sean, thanks for the time. Fair and balanced on what happened today on the floor. Throughout the